Of Pfizer's vaccine.
President-elect Joe Biden is naming more high-profile picks for his cabinet. I'm Deborah Alfrone at the White House, where President Trump is urging the Supreme Court to hear a lawsuit aimed at overturning Mr. Biden's victory.
And beating the pandemic with doorstep musical performances.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
America is just one step away from a coronavirus vaccine authorized for use by the FDA. The move could come as soon as today, as hospitals and pharmacies urgently prepare for its arrival. This is KOAM News at noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Topping our first 7 minutes, the latest on the race to a vaccine. Yesterday, a committee of experts recommended approval for Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccination following a thorough review of the data. The committee voted 17-4, concluding the Pfizer vaccine is safe and effective for emergency use for those 16 and older. The vaccine needed to be at least 50% effective, but the committee says Pfizer's drug is more than 90% effective. Hospitals nationwide are preparing to receive the first shipments of the vaccine as early as this weekend. A big part of distribution to the country's most vulnerable will be pharmacy chains, including Walgreens and CVS. KOAM's Zach Dodge has details on how they would get those vaccines to residents and the most vulnerable.
CVS Health is currently hiring more than 10,000 more associates so they can be ready to administer vaccines at more than 40,000 long-term care facilities across the nation. Walgreens will be going to more than 30,000. Both pharmacy chains have contracts with the CDC and Operation Warp Speed to give those vaccines to nursing home residents and staff because they have the capacity to store the vaccines that require sub-zero temperatures. At CVS, they anticipate getting vaccines into the arms of nursing home residents within just a few days, putting their more than 60,000 pharmacy techs and 30,000 pharmacists to work. In Missouri, at least, the Department of Health and Senior Services anticipates that distribution will likely happen around December 21st. Both companies say once vaccines are more widely available, residents will be able to go to any CVS or Walgreens pharmacy to get immunized, likely in the spring or summer of 2021.
We do feel confident that we can get to those who are looking to get a COVID vaccine. Nearly 80% of Americans live within 5 miles of a Walgreens right now, and we're packaging up different ways like remote clinics and mobile pharmacies to really get out there and support those communities in need.
Reporting in Joplin, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
The vaccines will be free for all residents. Now, pharmacies like Walgreens and CVS can charge a small administrative fee for giving the vaccine, but no one will be turned away if they cannot afford that fee. Well, we can finally say it. Winter is coming.
You've been waiting to say that for a year, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. Michael, tell us how soon.
The good old people at Game of Thrones, even though they may be off the air, they appreciate you bringing that back up.
I do my part.
I tell you what, all things considered, it's not going to be that bad. Our rain today has tempered our record highs from yesterday. We'll dive into our record highs here when I see you in a bit, but let's talk about our precipitation that we're seeing on this Friday morning, and we will continue into the afternoon. Now, the hardest of the rain is going to move into central Missouri right here. Ours is just going to be a dreary day, but everything that we're seeing right along the Oklahoma-Arkansas state line and then right across the river into Texas, the majority of that is going to be able to move to the east throughout the course of Friday afternoon and evening. So really, it's just going to be light rain is what's left for us. From the Freeman Health System sky camera, we're sitting at 58 degrees. Average high this time of year, what would that be, Tanya? About 48, if you had to guess? Okay.
I would think so.
Okay.
58 is pretty nice.
I'll go with what you say then.
Sure.
We're 10 degrees above normal for where we usually be. So like I said, it's just kind of like, it's like we got spoiled on Wednesday and Thursday. But we can tell the jet stream and the low pressure is seriously moving as we're just about into the central portion of the 4 states. Now, coming up here in just a little bit, we're going to talk about our drop in temperatures as we work past sunset into Saturday. And also, too, yes, that Sunday panel does have the possibility for some snow. Exactly where it will be, well, no. I want you to hang around and watch the full weather forecast when I see you in a bit.
Yeah, I got to leave.
I feel bad now. It's going to be to the south and it's not going to stick. It was a terrible tease, I know.
That's all right. That's all right. Well,
it was important. I don't want anybody to worry about it. It's not going to hang on the roads.
They should always stick around for full weather.
I hope they do.
Yeah, much more fun.
Never know when Uncle Jimbo or Cat on a Hot Tin Roof may make an appearance.
Who knows? Or more Game of Thrones references.
There you
Thanks,
go.
Michael. All right, well, the Supreme Court could announce as early as today whether or not to hear the presidential election lawsuit that seeks to invalidate the results in 4 battleground states. Meanwhile, the president-elect is set to roll out cabinet picks today. Deborah Alfarone has the latest from the White House.
President-elect Joe Biden is formally introducing more members of his senior leadership team, beginning with Tom Vilsack as Secretary of Agriculture. It's the same job he held in the Obama administration. Mr. Biden has also selected Ohio Congresswoman Marcia Fudge as HUD Secretary, former Obama Chief of Staff Dennis McDonough to lead the Department of Veterans Affairs, Susan Rice as Director of the Domestic Policy Council, and Catherine Tai as U.S. Trade Representative. The President-elect and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris have a new title today. They are Time Magazine's Person of the Year, beating out several finalists, including President Trump. President Trump is calling on the Supreme Court to intervene as he continues to try and overturn the election results. In a tweet this morning, the president predicted the Biden administration will be a scandal-plagued mess and called on the Supreme Court to, quote, save the USA. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton brought the lawsuit to the High Court, seeking to invalidate the election results in 4 battleground states.
I just want to make sure that the right person gets elected based on what the voters did in this country.
Officials from the states being sued call the lawsuit an attempt to undermine democracy.
It is constitutionally wrong, wrong on the law, and wrong on the facts.
More than 100 House Republicans signed a brief in support of the suit. It's up to the Supreme Court to decide whether or not to hear the case. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, the White House.
17 other Republican attorneys general also backed the suit, even though the Department of Homeland Security and the Justice Department have both said there has been no evidence of widespread voter fraud in the election. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at noon.
Musical theater is coming alive again, even during the pandemic. I'm Tina Kraus with how London's West End performers are getting back in the act.
And later, a dish that's worthy of being served in a fancy restaurant. We're making dining room chicken in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. The coronavirus pandemic shut down musical theater around the world, putting millions of performers out of work. But in London's West End, the curtain is opening again. People are paying for a different kind of front row seat. CBS's Tina Kraus has the story.
Hey guys, I'm Elder Cunningham. We've got a surprise for you.
When this missionary last knocked on a door, he was on stage, starring in the Book of Mormon in London's West End. Now he's making house calls around the UK with performers from other hit shows.
Even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious.
A socially distant solution to keep the performing arts alive during the pandemic.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful to be performing again.
And we're still making people smile and performing and doing what we love, so making ourselves viable.
When you haven't been able to go to the theatre, it's just so nice to see professionals singing and dancing.
The last time crowds packed theaters here in London's West End was 9 months ago. When the COVID lockdown hit, the curtain fell in an instant.
All the shows are shut. All my friends are unemployed. Some of them have lost their homes.
And actress Maria Friedman started Doorstep Productions to get herself and her friends back to work.
You can pick and mix, and with our creative team, you can make the shows of your dreams.
Each fully costumed performer costs about $300, or a whole neighborhood can pitch in to get a full cast.
And you can have a bit of joy and music and entertainment at your front door.
Allowing the show to go on in 2020. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
Performers say the Doorstep Productions are making them feel alive again, even if it's in the pouring rain. As like Michael says, this little light of mine, let it shine. Still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
We've got a dining room fancy meal that's a real crowd pleaser. You're not going to want to miss it.
But first, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete and not so musical forecast.
All in all, coming off of what we had Wednesday and Thursday, you knew we were due to kind of average out temperature-wise and actually catch up on some precipitation as well. And really, we've really seen anything about a quarter to about 3/4 of an inch. Haven't had much more than that. But as far as our heaviest rain for the day, pretty much done. And here's why. As we drop down to the south, as it comes off the Red River right here, while it's moving up to the northeast, it's also progressing to the east. So we're just going to have a little bit of fallout here. Not going to be surprised if we don't see some additional rain that's generated in central Oklahoma that comes up our way. But once again, not looking at anything severe, and our precipitation numbers really kind of going to be minimal. Give you an idea of where the cold front has pushed through. This will kind of be the thing we pay attention to headed towards Saturday, and that's our dividing line right there. Just about made it through the central portion of the 4 states where we've got mid-40s now up in the far northwest compared to the high 50s. We're hanging on to a 60, excuse me, when we started the noon show, but everybody's starting to drop. The nice thing is it hasn't been one of those where we drop 30 degrees in the span of a couple hours. This is going to be an elongated affair that really we're not going to see the most substantial drop until we get past sunset at about 5 o'clock. 58 right now outside the mothership. The barometer is falling, and that's a good indicator when you see that wind shift right there, as it has progressed like dominoes straight through the 4 states. And once again, when we talk about the darker the color, the lower the pressure, so no surprise. The lowest pressure we see throughout the Midwest just happens to be hanging right over us. Here is that line that really at one point in time has regressed a little bit in South Texas, but did extend from the Rio Grande all the way through the 4 states. They do have winter storm warnings in the upper Midwest through portions of Iowa and Nebraska. Dry on the northeast coast. That's because they're the recipients of the ridge that we had when we set our record highs, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. We're kind of stuck right now in the good old-fashioned jet stream trough, and we're going to actually have that here for the next couple of days. Now, as this progresses towards the Mississippi tonight, not a whole lot on the backside of it for Saturday. Saturday is going to be cloudy, but really no weather concerns. However, that is going to change here a little bit by the time we get to Sunday. Let's talk about Sunday here real fast, because watch on the left-hand side of your screen. We're actually going to see a little snow begin to work in. Now, it's going to stay mostly to the southern portions of the 4 states. And remember, coming off of the temperatures that we had on Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to be hard-pressed to see any of that stick around. Could see some accumulation on grassy areas, but here's why it won't be on our roads. Tanya, we talked about the 9th and the 10th. Well, the 9th, we just challenged record highs. The 10th, we broke them.
There we go.
Joplin, a new one. Pittsburgh, a new one. Chanute finishes second to 1939. Monette's got a new one. And Miami ties the December 10 record from 1975. So that's why we're good on the roads, but it's going to be a chilly weekend. And really, it's almost a taste of December that we're due for, seeing as what we had in the middle of this week.
Nah, I just hope this doesn't mean that when winter finally gets here, it's going to stick around forever. Because if we have a short winter, I'm not going to complain one bit.
We need to count ourselves lucky that we had December 9th and 10th, because no, we're not going to see that until 2021.
Okay, well, we'll take it. We took it. There we go.
Yes.
And now winter is coming. All right, thanks, Michael. We take this time to honor today's 4th state hero, Chief Petty Officer Harvey Becker in the U.S. Navy. The sailor from Mission, Kansas, served as a gunner's mate aboard the USS Arizona. He survived the December 7th, 1941 attack on Pearl Harbor, but 2 of his brothers did not. To Chief Petty Officer Harvey Becker, we thank you, our 4th state hero. Well, today's recipe looks and tastes like it was made in a restaurant, but it's actually easy enough to whip up anytime. Howard shows us how to make dining room chicken in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
When I first started working for a caterer when I was in high school, my job was to roast chickens on these huge trays. I mean, there were hundreds. Then I would slather them with a fruity glaze. That was the first time that I ever had fruit with chicken, or really with any meat. And you know what? It was amazing. So let me share with you a recipe that was inspired by that dish. We start by seasoning some quarter chicken with a bit of salt and pepper. Then into a roasting pan they go, and we rub them with a mixture of brown sugar and mustard. Now we cover it and pop it into the oven. While that's roasting, we combine some cranberry sauce with a bit more brown sugar, a bit of cornstarch, and some canned apricots that we've chopped, along with some of the syrup. Now we spoon the fruity sauce over the par-baked chicken, and back into the oven it goes. Just making this, and I'm getting a flashback to my catering days. Once it's done, spoon the pan drippings over it and fancy it up with more chopped apricots. Between the roasted chicken, which is super juicy, and the cranberry apricot glaze, this is one lip-smacking dish that can be kitchen casual or dining room fancy. I do hope you'll go online and get the recipe for what we call dining room chicken, so you can savor all the goodness that's perfect for Christmas or any time of year. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a festive way for you to say, "Ooh, it's so good."
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4 state market prices.
As we push through Friday afternoon, the majority of the hard rain is over. Now, remember, it's going to be chilly on Saturday, and as we work into Sunday, we even have the chance to see some flurries down to the southern portion of the 4 states. Don't worry about accumulation, though, because, as Debbie Deb once said, look out weekend. Our temperature is so good on Thursday and Friday, nothing's going to stick to the ground. Tanya?
That's right, even if winter is coming. Coming up tonight at 5, the American Academy of Pediatrics raises concerns about children's nutrition and physical activity during the pandemic. Pediatricians say they're seeing a trend of children gaining weight over the last several months. We'll have more on that in Health Watch. Plus, the city of Joplin discusses the damage reports from the Olivia building fire. And the Missouri Health Director gives the latest update on COVID vaccination distribution. Join us for those stories and much more tonight on the KOAM News at 5.
I want to thank you all for joining us here on the KOAM News at Noon. Have a wonderful weekend. Tanya and I will see you again Monday morning.
And the rest of the team will see you right here at 5 o'clock.
If you see news